Okay, in this lesson we're going to be talking about the native people of the West. There are three different groups that we're going to talk about in particular. The Northwest Indians, the Southwest Indians, and the Great Plains Indians. Now in the Northwest we have mentioned in our book the Chinook, the Natuka, and Hadea. They were located in Alaska to northern California. That's current day Alaska and northern California. In the Southwest we had the Zuni and the Hopi, and they were located in what's present-day Arizona and New Mexico. Now, the Great Plains Indians are the last group. They're the Pawnee and Omaha. They're located in the central part of North America. All right, these are just a few that are mentioned. There are more in your book. Okay? Now, the first group that we'll talk about is the Northwest people. These are the Chinook, Natuka, and the Hadea. They were hunters and gatherers. They hunted and gathered everything that they needed. They fished for salmon and kept an extra surplus or extra to eat during the winter. A surplus is when you have plenty of something or extras of something. Well, they had extra of salmon. Now, they also used the wood from nearby forests to make canoes, and they used those canoes to take their supply of salmon and crops and things and to trade with nearby Indian groups. They also built large houses and totem poles. A totem pole is almost like I think of a phone pole or a power pole, but thicker, and it has carved images of animals and bear and things that lived in their area or that were important to them. Now the next group is the Southwest people. These are the Zuni and the Hopi. These folks were farmers. Now, Zuni and Hopi are not the only native people living in the Southwest, but your book mentions these two. This area where they lived was very dry, so these early people had to develop what's called an irrigation system. Now, an irrigation system is a way of taking water from the river and bringing it to where your crops are. Okay, so the Zuni and the Hopi were well known for this. Now, the Southwest people, they also planted their corn very deep in the ground and in flooded areas. When these rivers would flood, it would deposit the soil on the side of the bank. Well, the Zuni and the Hopi learned that this is rich soil from the bottom of the river, and so they would plant their corn there. Southwest people were very religious. They believed in many gods. They had a god that they would worship and dance for their crops, and they believed that that god would be happy and their crops would be abundant or large. If the gods were not happy, obviously they would not receive rain, and their crops wouldn't make it. The Zuni and the Hopi, or the Southwest people, were also well-known caretakers of their land. That means they took very good care of their land. They didn't use anything that they didn't need. Okay? The next group are those living on the Great Plains, the Great Plains people. These are the Pawnee and the Omaha. These were successful farmers. Now, the reason they were successful is because the area where they lived received lots of rainfall each year. All right, and it says Pawnee and Omaha were successful farmers due to the amount of rainfall on the on the eastern plains. Great Plains people lived in villages near rivers, and summers and the winter times the Great Plains Indians hunted for buffalo. Now they chose to live in villages because all of these native people needed to live together for survival. And they chose to live near rivers because obviously they can get the supplies they need from fish, and it's a great place to plant their crops. And in the summertime and wintertime, they spent their time hunting the buffalo. Now the buffalo supplied everything the Great Plains people needed. All right, so we'll talk more in class about the importance of the buffalo. Now, horses on the plains. Many people like to think that native people, every native tribe had horses. Well, this wasn't always the case. Horses were brought to the Americas by the Spanish in the mid-1700s. As Spain starts to come here, they bring with them horses. And the horses were allowed to roam free on the Great Plains. And so over time, more and more horses appear on the plains. And so the native people are taught how to use these horses. Horses made life easier for the nomadic tribes. Nomad means that they would often move. They never really stayed in one place. They moved constantly. Well, these horses helped the native people move easily. help them to move and hunt. Okay, now we can hunt the buffalo quicker, and we can hunt for more buffalo if we have a faster way of getting to them. One of the best known tribes on the Great Plains was called the Comanche. They used horses to become great warriors, and your book says that they were one of the most fiercest fighting groups were the Comanche because they learned how to use the horse. Now let's review. In the Pacific Northwest, Indians stored a surplus of salmon to eat all year. They used wood for making canoes, houses, and totem poles. Now in the Southwest, the Indians used irrigation to water their crops. Remember, they lived in an area where it was very dry, and so they figured out a way to take water from the river and get it to their crops. Now in the Great Plains, Indians relied on the buffalo. They were nomadic and used horses to hunt and became great warriors. Hope you enjoyed today's lesson. We'll learn more about the native people in class. Hope you have a great day.